There's no such thing as sight reading. And before we had chords and scales, we just had harmonies and melodies. When composers would write a piece, they would write multiple melodies stacked above and below each other. And those melodies were of equal importance. The idea that the melody on top was the important part and the rest was all the accompaniment didn't come along until later. Now, there were rules as to what notes could be written above and below each other in harmony, and what notes could be written consecutively in a melody. And those rules were based on the idea of harmonic and melodic consonances and dissonances. Now, consonances are just basically the pretty sounding notes, and dissonances are the ugly sounding notes, and it was based on the division of the sound wave, but there were some notes that it was okay to write above and below each other, and some notes that it wasn't, and some notes that it was okay to write melodically, and some that it wasn't. Over hundreds of years, musicians started to notice that if you follow these rules, that you have groups of notes in the harmonies that happen again and again and again, and that's what sort of turned into what we think of now as chords. And if you follow the melodic rules, you get stepwise motion that happens again and again and again that turned into what we think of as scales. Now, if you're in a major key and you take the harmonies that were derived using those rules of counterpoint, or if you take the melodies that were derived using those rules of melodic counterpoint, rearrange it in a scale, you can get the same scale. You get the major scale. But if you're a minor key, well, that's not the case. So the harmonic minor scale is the scale that is derived from the harmonies that are produced if you follow these rules of counterpoint in a minor key. In fact, if you're in the key of C minor, you take the three primary harmonies, the three primary chords is what we call them now, which would be the C minor chord, that's the 1 chord, the F minor chord, that's the 4 chord, and the G7 chord, that's the 5 chord. If you take those notes and you rearrange those notes into a scale, you get a harmonic minor scale. C, E flat, G, F, A flat, C, G, B natural, D, and F. Rearrange that into a scale, you get a C harmonic minor scale, and then we call it a C harmonic minor scale because C is the note of resting resolution. Doesn't have to start in C. Now, melodic minor, well, that's the scale you get if you take the rules of melodic counterpoint and you rearrange that into a scale. And so the reason melodic minor has different notes ascending than it does descending is because the rules for ascending melodies in contrapuntal writing was different than the rules for descending melodies in contrapuntal writing. For example, you couldn't have an augmented second was a melodic dissonance. So if we're in C minor in a melodic line, you couldn't have an A flat next to a B natural. So they had to eliminate that augmented second. You can't take the B natural away or put you back in key of E flat. So they had to get rid of the A flat. So they raised the A flat to an A natural, get rid of that augmented second. Now, that B natural is a leading tone. It had to resolve up. Right? So if you walking up your scale, you get to B natural, the next note's a C. If you come back down to B natural, it has to go back to C again. So you got to either get rid of that B natural or you're going to have to skip it. That's why when you're descending, it changes back to a B flat. Otherwise, you can't descend. At least not with the B natural. Once the B natural is gone, you don't need the A natural anymore because the augmented second isn't there anymore. So the reason melodic minor has different notes going up than does going down is because the rules for melodic counterpoint were different from ascending notes than they were for descending notes. My name is Mark Dooley. I've been a private music teacher for 36 years, focused on practical theory and music literacy. If you'd like to hear more, follow me. If you'd like lessons, contact me. If you can learn how to read words, you can learn how to read music.